Good to see you on Tuesday. Actually, we're a little early, but I have to go share at a funeral in a little bit, and so it's just a little bit after 11. But I was thinking it's easy after all this time and not knowing if and when this part of the journey is going to end someday. It's easy to get worn down and a little bit tired and maybe even get a little bit more into ourselves. I know I can get that way, but because I can become easily preoccupied with making sure I have enough, that I'm okay, making sure that the church is okay and that the church has enough. And at the very beginning of this pandemic, one of the things that we emphasized is that we need to reach out. To those of you out there who are struggling, to people that you know who are struggling, we cannot let this pandemic and our preoccupation with survival prevent us from reaching out unto others. And I hope we'll do that. I was thinking of the passage today that it's from the 21st chapter of Luke, one simple verse, where Jesus was talking about giving. And he says, they all contributed out of their abundance. But this poor lady gave out of her poverty. And I keep thinking about that because that's one of the things my dad taught me years ago. I remember my grandparents lived in Roseland. And when I was a kid, I just thought Roseland in Chicago was the promised land. I loved going there. And my view of the world back then was pretty naive. It probably is now, too. I've often been criticized for being a little bit too naive and simple. But I would just watch the way my grandparents lived, from the boiling coffee pot to the bamboo fishing poles to the plastic on the furniture, the small lawns, the being on the front porch with their neighbors. And I would often say to my dad, my gosh, Dad, Grandma and Grandpa are the richest people in the world. And little did I know that they really had hardly anything. But my dad always said, they gave out of their poverty. Whatever they had was yours. And the way they talked to their neighbors, and as time went on, even the ethnic and the racial makeup of Roseland changed a lot. And my grandparents just loved their neighbors. They loved the diversity. They would invite the neighbors over to sit on the front porch. And I somehow wish life could be that simple again. But they taught me a lot about giving. Like my dad would often tell me, the best way to raise money, whether it's just for the church or whatever, is to make sure that whatever you have, you give. And when you give, it comes back tenfold, sometimes 100-fold. I was thinking about reaching out, and one of you on Sunday came to church and you told us about a lady who's going through a tough time. And we're going to talk more about her this Sunday, but she's a lady that has a young child and is awaiting a liver transplant. And she has all kinds of medical bills and all kinds of expenses. And you were wondering if there's any way we could help. And sometimes you think, with all the medical expenses, what good can one little church do? But you know, every little bit that we give unto somebody else does make a difference. It kind of reminds me, I probably won't tell the story right, but it's a story of a little boy. He's walking along the beach, and the surf is up and the tide is out, and he sees all the starfish laying on the beach, and they're going to die because they're not going to be in the water. And so the little boy stoops down and he picks up one of the starfish and throws it into the tide in the water, and there's a guy there watching him, and the guy says, "Little boy, do you realize that the beach is miles long and there's hundreds and thousands of starfish? You're not going to really make any difference." And when the man said that, the boy stooped down and picked up a starfish and threw it in the tide in the water. And he looked at the man and he said, "I made a difference for that one starfish." And I think about that. Whether it's somebody facing a multitude of medical bills, a little boy on the beach, or one person who needs just a little something to get them through the day, giving unto others does make a difference. And that's part of what we are about. And I was just thinking about the last 7 months, and when we first started, I talked a lot about making sure that we had the love bucket, and if you can go a little extra mile to help somebody, and I haven't talked about it that much, and maybe that's because over 7 months I've become a little more selfish and a little more preoccupied with my survival or the church's survival. But I think one thing that is at the heart and soul of hopefully who we are as a community and we are as God's children is that if we can make a difference for one moment, for one person, then that's what life is all about. Like Jesus said, she gave out of her poverty, but what she gave really made a difference. And I think that's what we stand for. And I just hope that as we get together and on these little moments at noon on a weekday and at church on Sunday, that I hope you know, and we all know, that each one of us has a purpose. Each one of us has a place. Each one of us has something to give, even though it may not be much. Because like that little boy in the starfish, he looked at the man and said, "I made a difference to this one fish," and that's all that mattered. God bless you. It's good to be with you, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow.